Could you possibly be the jerk for refusing to change your daughter's name? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for failing to take care of my sister's dog while she was in labor? I'm 21-year-old female, and my older sister, 25-year-old female, and I have always been close. But we tend to clash because she's a perfectionist and gets hostile when things don't go her way. One night, she called to say she was going into labor and asked me to watch her puppy. I agreed, and she gave me detailed instructions, including putting the dog in a safety harness when taking him outside. Later, I took the dog out and brought him back in, but I hadn't fully taken off his harness when he ran towards the living room where my mom was on FaceTime with my sister's boyfriend. I finished taking the harness off, but minutes later, I got angry texts from my sister accusing me of mistreating her dog because she was still in the harness for a few extra minutes. Her boyfriend had seen it on the FaceTime call and told her. She then called, yelling that I was lazy and unreliable, and told me and my mom to leave her house immediately. She even said we wouldn't meet the baby until we earned her trust back. At 2 a.m., we left and I asked her boyfriend what was going on when he arrived. He just brushed me off saying, "We're having a kid, you don't get an explanation." I spent the night comforting my mom, who was really upset, thinking she might not see her grandchild. The next day, my sister called to apologize and blamed her reaction on stress and hormones. She invited us over to meet the baby, so we went. The visit was fine, but afterwards she asked why I seemed quiet. I calmly told her how hurt I was after being kicked out, insulted, and threatened. I explained that the situation left a lasting negative memory for everyone. Her boyfriend missed moments at the hospital, my mom was devastated, and now her in-laws probably think we can't handle helping her. I just wanted her to acknowledge my feelings. Instead, she got defensive again, saying she stood by everything she said, and that I was disgusting for trying to put a dark cloud over her baby's birth. She then asked me to leave, which I did. We haven't spoken since. And while I understand she's under a lot of stress, I'm left wondering if I'm wrong for wanting my feelings to be acknowledged. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is just all really a big product of stress and hormones. I mean, it is a pretty stressful time for her. But it remains true that OP did something just about any average person would do, which is sometimes when the dog runs off, it takes you an extra couple minutes to get the harness off them. At least from what OP's saying, they weren't out here mistreating the dog, and therefore they were wrongly accused, mistreated, and OP does deserve an apology, at least in my opinion. Not this again 234 commented, "Not the jerk." Don't let her institute a norm where she gets to use you as a punching bag and you just pretend it's okay because reasons. It's absolutely not okay. I don't buy that having a kid is a free ticket to be a jerk without consequences. If momentary stress causes an unfortunate outburst, there is a remedy for that. A sincere apology and assurance that it won't happen again. If you don't get that, I'd keep my distance if I were you. It's not difficult to predict what you're going to be subjected to if she's allowed to get away with this behavior. Ambitious Ad 560 added, to piggyback on this, if OP rolls over this time with being berated for not perfectly watching the puppy, imagine what happens when sister drops baby on OP and OP blinks her eyes one too many times in front of the baby. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sisters to take care of their own freaking kids? I'm 24-year-old male, the youngest of my parents' 3 kids. My older sisters are Sarah, 28-year-old female, and Liv, 26-year-old female. Sarah and Liv were BFFs growing up. Always together, shared everything, the whole TV trope of close sisters. That was my sisters. The other part that was very TV-like was their anti-boy rhetoric and specifically anti-brother. They never liked me being near them and they'd always say I was embarrassing to them, that I was gross, which I wasn't dirty or anything, that they wanted sisters and not brothers, that boys weren't allowed to play whatever games they were playing. It hurt my feelings as a kid and they were punished for being cruel on occasion. Not all the time, but it happened a few times, and I know our parents got concerned enough to try therapy, both individual for us all and family therapy together. It was in family therapy when my sisters loudly proclaimed they would never love me or want a brother. They said boys are disgusting and nobody wants them, and they wanted someone to come and take me away forever so they never had to see me again. My parents put a lot of focus into giving me outside focuses too, so the stuff with my sisters wouldn't destroy me. It wasn't always perfect. I did wish at a younger age that my sisters would care, but I had friends, hobbies, activities, and stuff to keep me distracted, and my parents kept working on my sister's treatment of me because it went beyond just not being close. Their attitude toward me did not change. I was very much in the not family camp when Sarah got married and when Sarah and then Liv started having babies. I wasn't included or invited to anything, even to meet their kids when they were born. I wasn't sent any announcements. My parents and other family got those. I'm not even their social media friend or follower. They both have accounts set to permission needed to follow. I'm truly over it and them by now. I know nothing will change, and honestly, I don't want to, and freak the whole don't hold kids' actions against them because they have not been kids for years. Now they have some kids that are a bit older and both sisters want to work. They try to share a nanny and babysitter, but I guess they got tired of paying for both for different occasions, so they approached me to be a babysitter. They told me I should help take care of their kids since I'm supposed to be family or whatever. I asked if they were serious and then I rolled my eyes at them hard. They said I had a crappy attitude. I told them they can take care of their own freaking kids and they won't be using me after 24 years of wanting my existence to go away. They accused me of being as bad as them for responding in the way I did. Am I the jerk? I'd like to know from the people in the comments whether or not it seems like this should be the thing OP overlooks for the sake of having a relationship with their nieces and or nephews, or if the siblings, aka the parents' behaviors both in childhood and now is more than enough to just overlook that entire lineage. Like, is that family and that next generation of your family worth it when it means you have to associate with your siblings who treated you like that? Backhoe Finch commented, "Not the jerk. They clearly told you they didn't want you in their family and went out of their way to exclude you even as adults. You owe them nothing. They're basically strangers to you who happen to be related to your family, and accusing you of being as bad as them is absurd. They got their wish. No brother. They should deal with it." This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my wife not to be that mom? My, male 44, son, male 14, plays football. My wife picks him up from practice Monday to Thursday, so last Thursday, my wife got there a bit early and sat on the bench while they practiced. I guess my son wasn't doing something right because the coach said something along the lines of, "Stop being a little bench and tackle him." For some reason, my wife took offense to that and wanted to text the coach about it. I was like, "No, don't do that. My son didn't care and that's just how coaches talk to the players. It's not a big deal." My wife said, "And I don't like it. Your point is?" And I just said, "It's week 5 of football. Don't be that parent." She took offense to me indirectly calling her a you-know-what or whatever, and she luckily still hasn't sent anything to the coach. But am I the jerk for what I said? Wife definitely thought I was, and it's still kind of an argument. So I think the problem here is, and I'm curious if you guys agree with me, is the fact that they're still the jerk because they didn't really consider why the wife is feeling the way they feel. They're just saying, don't make a fuss, don't bring it up, the coach just does that sometimes, don't be that parent. But doing so and saying that completely disregards any of her feelings and thoughts on the matter, right? Like, was she able to clarify any of why she feels that way? Beth Sophia commented, "You're the jerk. Misogynistic language is going to offend a lot of women as it is offensive, and it's highly inappropriate for anyone to say to a 14-year-old. Coach needs to clean up his potty mouth. Being that parent who teaches their kid that these things are not okay is a good thing." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my wife she can either sleep with the cat locked in with her or get rid of him? My wife rescued a cat a year ago. He is the most frustratingly annoying creature on the planet. He screams for attention 24/7. He doesn't allow us to do anything without his input. I haven't slept through once since we got him. He wails all night incessantly. He's cost us thousands of dollars in vet bills and behaviorists trying to figure out what's wrong and how to fix it. Ultimately, he's an orange cat, and apparently they're prone to being jerks. He's healthy and has all of his needs met. He's treated better than most cats. I am at my wit's end. He wants wet food 24/7 and he will scream all night until someone gives in and feeds him. He's kept me awake for hours. If he's not screaming, he's scratching at the wall or door. He just stands there, scraping his feet against the wall, staring into my soul. I was a single father for the first 7 years of my son's life, and let me tell you, working 14-hour days and coming home to a colicky newborn was easier than whatever freaking torture methods this cat is trained in. I want rid of the cat. My wife knows how hard he is and doesn't think he'll be adopted, and so doesn't want to give him up. At this point, I do not care. I told her she can either move into the garage with him at night and deal with him solo, or we can get rid of him. But I refuse to suffer any longer because this fat orange cat can't survive an hour without a meal. My wife is pretty upset. We took on the responsibility of a cat together. We should keep looking for solutions together. She shouldn't have to suffer solo just because she doesn't want him to end up on some youth list. I do not care. I am exhausted. My kids think I'm evil but also refuse to do anything to help with the cat, so I'm not super keen on listening to them. My son, upon hearing about my dilemma, asked me to post it here. I'm happy to hear any and all judgments, so why not? Let me just say personally, I am a staunch pet lover, I am a cat lover, I am a dog lover. Hearing this story and imagining myself in that dilemma kind of breaks my heart because I don't know if I would have the heart to actually get rid of the cat. I feel like I'd be in the same situation as the wife where I know if I'm giving up that fat orange cat who demands constantly for food, where's the most likely place they're going to end up? On the euthanasia list. In a way, you feel like you're sentencing them to doom. At the same time, I completely understand OP because you can't live your life like that. And from what OP said, it's not like they haven't tried to fix it. Definitely seems one way or another there's probably a breaking point coming pretty soon. I just know if it were up to me, I'd be clinging to the hope that something could be figured out. Euphoric Travel 2541 commented, "Not the jerk, you're at your wit's end and it's clear that something must change. But before you accept a euthanasia solution for this orange oligarch, consider an intermediate solution, maybe a nice little area with water, food, litter box, and a comfy bed for him in the garage. Be kind to him and feed him well during the day, and put him with some provisions in the garage at night, away from you both and the kids. Get him in the morning. Keep to the same times each day, treat him well, but make it clear that this is a permanent schedule. He will complain, your wife and kids will complain, but you deserve the opportunity to have peace and a full night's rest, and it's not cruel to the cat." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my friend that I'm sorry her parents don't love her as much as mine love me? I, 22-year-old female, have a friend named Amy, 22-year-old female, who I met in college. Currently, we're in our last semester of college. I live alone, but she shares her apartment with 2 other people. We never really spoke about our finances much, but I know that both of our parents currently pay our rent. The issue started when we talked about our future plans. I told her that I'm probably going to get a job and do my master's at the same time so that I can save up a little, but also to finally have my own money to spend on some things that I love, and to travel. She laughed at me and asked me what kind of salary I expect while working part-time to be able to afford all that. I shrugged and said I didn't have any expenses that I'd need to cover really, just food and that's it. She looked shocked and asked me about rent and stuff, and I said my parents will be paying for it. She then went on to rant about becoming an adult, how she can't wait to be independent, how she doesn't want to take money from her parents and stuff like that. For the most part, I tried to nod my head and listen to her, but then she said something like, "I'd feel like a bad daughter if I were you," and that really made me feel embarrassed. My parents want to pay for my apartment, they can easily afford it, and I'm not the type of person to be ungrateful for it. I spend a lot of time with them. I know they don't lack money for anything. They travel, own their house, have a good retirement plan. They don't mind paying for me, and I don't mind taking it. We have a good relationship. I know this won't be forever, and I don't expect it to be. Just a few years until I finish my degree and get a higher paying job. I got annoyed and told her to drop it. We can talk about something else, but she continued talking about how her parents want her to be a real adult. How I'll never want to be ambitious unless I struggle in just more and more nonsense. Not sure how important it is, but between the 2 of us, my grades are significantly better, and I'm a few exams ahead of her in terms of passing the semester. I just cut her off and said, well, I don't know. Maybe my parents love me more than yours love you, so they want to pay. I'm sorry for that. Can we now talk about something else? We didn't talk since, and I do feel bad because I know that love has nothing to do with the money, and looking back, it's such a rude thing to say, but I just said it to shut her up because she was insulting me and calling me spoiled for no reason. I wasn't even the one to start this conversation, nor did I probe into her finances. She was the one who kept it going. Ever since that day, I feel a pit in my stomach and I really didn't want to insult her. Info/edit, just adding some stuff because I feel like it may be relevant. I feel like Amy's intention wasn't genuine because she currently accepts her parents paying rent, food, utilities, everything. So do I. The conversation was about after college. I mentioned my academic success because she said I will never be ambitious when I try really hard. We also don't live in the USA, and parent support isn't so uncommon. And lastly, while this may not convince people, I really do appreciate my parents and everything they do for me. I don't plan to leech on them, and this is something they know, and that's what matters to me. I think there's fault on both sides. I think what OP said was definitely uncalled for, and I think what their friend was saying was uncalled for. I think it's just as possible that somebody might coast on parent support as another person might thrive off of parent support. I just think just because OP wanted to shut them up doesn't excuse what OP said to their friend. 1962 Michael commented, "Everybody sucks here. You're definitely the jerk for saying such a thing. Money does not equal love, ever." That said, she was a jerk for not dropping the subject earlier and trying to make you feel like you were taking advantage of your parents. Both of you have loving parents. They may not have the same amount of money, but besides that, they can have different ideas about the best ways to support your careers and lives. In this case, since you do have better grades, you are perhaps a better candidate for a master's program, which in the long run will make continuing to support you a good investment. She may want to continue her education, but her parents have decided they will not support her past her bachelor's. That doesn't mean they don't love her as much, they may have limited funds. Note, she has roommates to reduce expenses, or they may rightly believe she's not a good candidate for an advanced degree. But you have to see that she is trying to reconcile her situation and yours without thinking her parents don't love her. Certainly, there are students who want to stay in college at their parents' expense for as long as possible and avoid having to take care of themselves financially. I don't think that applies to either of you. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not defending my friend when my fiancé was mean to her? I, 26-year-old male, have been engaged to my fiancée Zyra, 26-year-old female, for 6 months now. We were friends in high school and only started dating when we were around 22. We were close in high school, we were in the same friend group, but drifted apart and reconnected in uni, so it's safe to say I do know her really well. She's a kind person most of the time. However, she knows how to cut deep when the situation warrants it. I've witnessed it at times and she can make people cry. So one of my friend groups mostly consists of gamers. I don't hang out with them in person that much because I'm not very social and prefer spending time with my fiancé. Even during calls, I'm mostly muted or don't talk, but I do enjoy their company. I guess I'm just shy. My friends know I have a fiancé and they invited her out with us last night. There are girls in our friend group, like 2 of them, and this other girl in our group who can be a bit of a pick-me girl. I'll call her Emma. She gets along well with the rest of us, but sometimes she can be a bit annoying. So last night we all went out to dinner and the 2 other girls and my girl were getting along really well. They really hit it off until Emma joined us later in the evening. She started making passive-aggressive backhanded comments to Zyra, who initially just rolled her eyes and laughed, but I told Emma to stop because I didn't want the night to end with someone crying. She took this as a joke, but stopped messing with Zyra for a while and then she started up again. I think she was trying to make my fiancé insecure or jealous or something, but Emma kept saying how close we are because we game. Zyra knows I'm not close with her because every time I play with them, she's either in my lap or right next to me watching me play. Emma told Zyra not to worry about her because she wasn't going to take me away from her. Zyra smiled at her and I knew the night was over. She looked Emma up and down and said, "You? Take him from me? Good luck." Emma tried defending herself and brushing it off as a joke, but Zyra just kind of let loose, I guess. She called Emma a pathetic excuse of a woman and asked if she needs male validation that desperately, or if she's actually deluded enough to think that she, Emma, is more important than her, Zyra, in my life, among other things. I'm not going to lie, I do think it's kind of hot when she gets like this, so I just sat by and watched, and Emma started crying and we left after she said thank you to the rest of my friends. The girls in my group have been messaging me and saying that I should have stopped Zyra and maybe not have let her be so rude, and Emma's gone radio silent. My other friends think Zyra is justified and I do too, but did she take it too far and should I have stopped her? Am I the jerk? Hi, so I have no idea how to write an update, so I'm just gonna write it here and hopefully people will read it. I want to thank everyone who told me I wasn't a jerk, and neither was Zyra. I knew we weren't wrong, I just wanted an unbiased opinion. A lot of people seem to think that Zyra is a horrible woman who kicks puppies or something. I said that she can make people cry and everyone just assumed she just regularly goes out and makes people cry. She's made like 3 people cry. 4 if you count Emma, but I'm 100% certain those were crocodile tears. Also, my other friends in the group have decided they want some space from Emma and the other girls. A lot of people said Zyra is trying to isolate me when it's in fact the opposite. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even have these friends because I frankly have no interest in making a lot of friends. I also said that I think Zyra is hot when she gets assertive and stands up for herself, and so many people were acting like I said something so gross and disgusting, which was weird. Like, I'm sorry, I think my fiancé is hot. Do you want me to hate her or something? On to the update. We spent the morning reading the comments, it's her day off, and Zyra thinks you're all kind and funny. I've decided I'm just going to put some distance between myself and the girls. I have other friends, so I'll be fine. Plus, we're getting married in November, so I have better things to worry about and look forward to. I actually cannot wait. These 2 months are taking forever. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like Emma was kind of asking for it in this situation. They're saying, oh, don't worry, you won't take them from me. It's not even like Zyra specifically pointed anything out. They never said like, oh, you're ugly or something like that. It wasn't even necessarily implying in that direction either. They're just saying like, you think you're more important to him than me? You think you're gonna steal him from me? Good luck. Okay, Hovercraft 4450 judged it as, needs more info. Do you have other examples of her mean streak, making people cry? The example you list doesn't really count as Emma kind of brought it on herself. However, generally speaking, any person with a mean streak that can make other people cry is a walking, talking red flag that nobody should be seriously dating. The classic example is, how does she treat waitresses when you eat out? If she's ever been slightly rude to them, game over. But it's not limited to waitresses. Anybody who's the target of her bullying could indicate a red flag. It's just that if you discover someone is mean like this, probably the first indication will be an interaction with some kind of service worker like a waitress. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to help out with my dad's new wife's kids like I help with my siblings? My dad got married 4 months ago, and his new wife has 3 kids, 7, 5, and 4. Dad has me, 16-year-old male, and my siblings, 13-year-old female, 11-year-old female, and 9-year-old male. Our mom died 5 years ago. Not sure about the other kids' dads. They don't have anything to do with their dads. My relationship with my dad has been strained for years. I have a plan I put into place last year to get me out as soon as I'm 18. I don't want a relationship with my dad. I don't want to fix things or to make the most of things for now. I just want to keep my eye on the prize. But I help my siblings when I need to. Sometimes it's walking them to school. Don't have a car. Sometimes it's buying them a little something. Sometimes it's helping with homework or getting them some food or picking them up from someplace. It's not all the time, though I do buy them little snacks or whatever if they want to walk home with me instead of taking the bus, just for some sibling time and to spoil them a little since dad was never into that. My dad's wife has a problem that I still do this stuff for my siblings, but I don't do a thing for her kids. I don't even really talk to them unless they talk to me first. She's asked me to pick them up or feed them lunch once or twice, and I say no. Since going back to school, I was asked to help all the kids with homework and not just my siblings, even though they do their homework in different rooms. My siblings in my room, the new wife's kids in the kitchen, but the most controversial was when I walked my siblings home from school and bought them ice cream on the way. I didn't get anything for the other kids, and I didn't try to take the others with me, just my siblings. So my dad and his wife sat me down a few days ago and told me I should treat all the kids the same and should be willing to help them all. I said no. I said I won't. She argued that this would be a good way to form a stronger family connection. I told her there is no family connection and there never will be. She and her kids are not my family just like he isn't. Dad. I told her the only family I have in their house is my siblings and they won't change my mind. She wanted to know if I would go to therapy with them and give it a chance, and I said no. Dad was already doing other stuff by that point. She told me we could make it work and her kids would love to have me as a big brother, and by doing some stuff every now and again could be nice. I said no. She didn't like that and told me I'm old enough to know and do better. Am I the jerk? Maybe the comments can confirm this, but I feel like most people have heard similar stories where a new parent comes into the picture with their gaggle of kids in tow, and they just assume their new partner's older kid is going to immediately take up the mantle of being the shiny new big sibling / part-time babysitter that the family so desperately needs, and it isn't just black and white and just works out like that. It's kind of like parents who come in and try to assert, I'm new dad, I'm new mom. You try to force it like that, it almost especially is never going to work. Random Walker commented, judging not the jerk. You're already going above and beyond for your biological siblings. You don't owe that to anyone. It's your choice. Stepmom wanting a better bond might be genuine or not. Hard to judge from just a few paragraphs, but initially sounds a lot like her main interest is you helping out. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to change my daughter's name or give my half-sister's daughter the stuffy for my grandma? Sorry if the title is a little confusing, here's the situation with background included. I, 26-year-old female, was only 3 or 4 when my father married my stepmother. I had no mother in my life or no family from my father. My stepmother and most of her family did not accept me as theirs though. To be perfectly honest, neither did my father. He always treated me like a burden or like I chose to make his life more difficult by daring to be born. The exception to all this was my grandma, who was my stepmother's mom. She embraced and loved me as her granddaughter, even among her bio grandkids. I was always equal to her, and some people accused her of favoring me above the real grandkids. When my half-sister was born, this caused so many issues because she refused to treat me as less even after that. My half-sister hated it when we were growing up because her parents would make such a fuss out of it. She was always so jealous, even though grandma loved and treated her well too. I think everyone had this expectation that if I was a grandkid too, that meant she loved the real ones less. I know grandma fought with the whole family over their disregard for me. She even confronted my father in acting like I had any choice in being born, but he didn't care. Nobody did. Nobody changed their behavior toward me, and my half-sister and grandma became a bit estranged when my half-sister entered her teens. Because my half-sister became very demanding that grandma ignore me, she insulted grandma for letting me play with her grandma's childhood stuffy but never letting anyone else play with it. She told grandma to leave me out of the will. She told grandma I wasn't a real member of the family. Grandma was so disappointed in her for being so bratty about it, and she saw her less, which ticked my father and stepmother off. When grandma got sick, she publicly announced that she was gifting me her childhood stuffy and that she wanted me to have it for my future children as a memory of her. It ticked everyone off, but she did it before she died. Grandma also told me after I'd mentioned wanting to name a future child after her that she would be honored. She also encouraged me to break free from our so-called family without shame, which I did once she died. That was 3 years ago. I gave birth to my daughter a few weeks ago. After announcing her birth and name on social media, I had my half-sister, now 20-year-old female, reach out to me through different platforms and through an old number to cuss me out and tell me I stole the name from her, that she's due in several weeks and was going to name her daughter after grandma, and how freaking dare I use the name for someone who wasn't my family. She called me all kinds of names. I hung up on her instead of listening, but then more contact came through different platforms and blocking seemed to be evaded on some of them. I was also told I should be giving her the stuffy for her daughter and how I'm a freaking craphead for not. Am I the jerk? I would hope most people in the comments would agree with me when I say that OP is not the jerk, and naming your kid over somebody that's so influential and such a huge piece of you in your life, especially with their direct blessing, OP didn't steal that from anyone. Kuriku Menu commented judging not the jerk. This is clear. Your grandmother adopted you in her heart, and what she gave to you is a gift from your true family. She told you she would be honored by you giving your daughter her name. Quoting, "She also encouraged me to break free from our so-called family without shame." The reason your grandmother gave you this advice surely was also to protect you against manipulation and control. Stay true to her and follow her advice. Accept her love and her gifts without shame. Don't let others taint that or steal any of it from you. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.